What's up guys, KD3 here. I've been getting a lot of questions regarding what equipment is the best to have on each character, so today I'll be giving my 2 cents and explaining why I use each piece of equipment that I decide to use.
With my vision, I'll guide you all to victory. Sounds great!
So of course we'll be starting with the protagonist. Weapon is Lucifer's Blade because it's the strongest weapon in the game, plus it comes with magic ability which buffs all non-almighty magic damage by 25%, plus buffs your stats by 7 if you need that. This is great because I don't need to put that skill on the persona itself, saving a slot for other useful skills that you can use. The Armor of Light has the highest defense in the game on top of heavily reducing magic damage, which is very nice for endgame bosses since they have very powerful spells. I mainly use this for the secret boss since they can do a lot of damage if ill prepared. When it comes to shoes, you have quite a few options with the protagonist. I use the Shoes of Light mostly because I love Ali Dance because it's very dumb, plus that means I don't have to put it on a persona. 2 other options are the Dragon Boots, which boost your attack and crit rate at the start of a battle. I use these in my one-shot build showcased in this video here. Assuming you haven't defeated the secret boss yet, the Shoes of Bane are also great for nullifying dark instant kill attacks, which they like to use a lot. Whatever you decide to use between these 3 is up to you. I just use the Shoes of Light. There's so many accessories in this game that I swap back and forth every now and then, but my favorite for the protagonist is the Ombrotite necklace since it negates every ailment in the game. Enemies love to spam ailment moves and I just don't want to deal with that, so it's perfect for me. Only downside is that it costs 500k. The Divine Pillar is also pretty good since it halves all damage, but you can just put Firm Stance on your persona if you prefer to do that. And finally, if you've done everything the game has to offer, then you can just use the Omnipotent Orb since it just negates all damage except Almighty. Can't really compete with that. Here are the methods to obtain each piece of equipment listed here. Next up, we have Yukari. For the weapon, we have the Quintessence Bow. Not only does it have the highest attack, but it also comes with auto concentrate. I keep the Shoes and Armor of Light on her as well since she's weak to lightning, plus Ali Dance makes her hard to hit anyways. For the accessory, I went with the Ombrotite necklace because since she's the healer, I can't afford to have her be inflicted with ailments. That's a no-go, but there's other options as well. You could give her the lightning gloves to nullify all electric damage entirely, or if you're greedy and just want some extra damage, you can slap on the wind bracers for some extra wind damage. Here's how to obtain each piece of equipment mentioned. For Junpei, we have Makoto's katana for the weapon. Not only does it boost his stats, but it also gives him apt pupil which boosts his crit rate. For armor, we have the Armor of Light, and for the shoes, we have the Dragon Boots because they boost his attack and crit rate at the start of a battle. The reason why we have so many crit rate enhancers is because his game plan is to land a lot of crits to build his theurgy. His skill list isn't the best in terms of supporting his playstyle, but his combat characteristic with the right equipment guarantees that he'll land crits left and right. For the accessories, I have the Nandaka bracers to boost his slash damage since those are his strongest moves. You can also use the Storm Ring if you're concerned about getting hit by wind moves, or my favorite, the Ombrotite necklace. Here's how to obtain every piece of equipment mentioned. For Akihiko, you have 2 options for weapons depending on how you prefer to play the game. If you just want raw damage, you can equip the Double Ziggurat for a big boost to your strike damage since he has God's Hand, or you can use the Evil Gloves that give him Heat Riser at the start of a battle. The reason I don't use these is because I have a persona that buffs the whole party at the start of battle, so the effect is pretty much useless. For anyone who doesn't have that, these are perfectly fine. It's very good for building his theurgy. Armor of Light and Shoes of Light, of course. And for the accessories, I have the Strike Bracers to give him even more strike damage. Good alternatives are the Ombrotite necklace, of course, as well as the Frozen Stone for nullifying ice attacks since he's weak to those. Here's how to get every piece of equipment mentioned. For Mitsuru, I use the Snow Queen Whip instead of the Kokuseki Senjin. The reason is because Ice Amp gives a 50% damage boost to ice attacks, while Magic Ability only gives a 25% damage boost to non-almighty magic attacks. Therefore, Ice Amp gives a bigger damage boost than Magic Ability, so I use the Snow Queen Whip. Armor of Light and Shoes of Light, of course. For her accessory, I use the Chakra Ring to reduce the cost of her spells since she has a few costly ones. You can also use the Blazing Flame to nullify fire damage since she's weak to fire. Here is how to get every piece of equipment mentioned. For Aigis, I use the antimatter cannon. It gives me pierce boost so I can get a 25% damage boost. You can also use the Metatronius weapon, which boosts her stats by 5 and gives her Arms Master, which cuts all physical damage in half. Pandemonium is also good if you want Aigis to battle against enemies that resist her skills in some way since it ignores resistances. She can't use the light armor, so I gave her the Art of Athena, which knows all ailments. For the shoes, I gave her the Swan Legs, which makes it much easier for her to evade magic. She's weak to lightning, so they help out a lot. And for her accessory, I have the Vijaya Bracers, which give her Pierce Amp. Combining these with her combat characteristics should give her a giant damage boost. If you'd prefer to use something else, the Lightning Gloves are a good alternative since she's weak to lightning skills. Here's how to get every piece of equipment mentioned. For Ken, you can use whatever weapon you want. I just use Pinaka for the extra HP and SP, armor and shoes of light like usual, and for the accessory, I would prefer to use the Ring of Darkness to stop him from getting insta-killed by dark moves since he's weak to those. But if you're not worried about that, the Ushas and Indra Bracers work for giving him more damage. Here's how to get every piece of equipment mentioned. And finally for Koromaru, we have Vajra for the weapon, which not only gives him a ridiculous +9 in all stats, but it also has Ali Dance, which is dumb because it makes everyone harder to hit, combined with his combat characteristic which debuffs the enemy's evasion and accuracy for 3 turns, making the party even more difficult to hit. For armor, we have the Ara Dog Suit. In the rare instance that Koromaru gets hit with a light skill, it will just get nullified. And for the footwear, I have the Bear Paws, which do nothing, but have high evasion. Does Koromaru even need any more? If you don't have a setup persona, I would have the Speed Transmitter to make the party even harder to hit, but there's a lot of different things you can do with Koromaru due to his insane versatility. The Amrite necklace is also a good alternative if you want him to avoid ailments. Here's how to get every piece of equipment mentioned. And finally we have Fuuka. And yes, before anyone asks, the equipment you put on Fuuka matters. Ignore my armor because I don't know if there's any armor that increases SP. Someone please let me know if there is. But I just use equipment that increases her SP since she can actually use her SP in Tartarus. The Holy Shoes increase her SP by 50, while the Queen Alice Band increases her SP by 100. And for anyone curious, no. Invigorate does not work on Fuuka since she technically does not get turns in a fight. Here is how to get every piece of equipment mentioned. And that concludes this tutorial. If your goal is to get these pieces of equipment, check out my gem and money farming guides so that you can get what you need to grab these items.